Arthur had always been part of the background. To most, he was invisible. A man in faded overalls, pushing a mop across polished floors while life moved past him. For years, he worked in silence at the city's grand chess hall. Every week, he swept up chalk dust, rearranged chairs, and scrubbed away coffee stains left behind by players who never once looked him in the eye. Yet what no one knew was that Arthur had been studying those very players. Every piece he placed back on an board, every discarded score sheet he picked off the floor, he absorbed like a secret language. He didn't just clean the hall, he learned from it. And slowly, without anyone noticing, the janitor became fluent in the art of chess. The evening that changed everything started with chaos. A famous tournament was underway. Reporters, cameras, and a buzzing crowd filled the hall. Crumb, the reigning world champion, was scheduled for a highly anticipated exhibition match. But minutes before the game, a challenger backed out. Panic spread among the organizers. They needed someone, anyone, to fill the seat. Then, almost as a joke, someone pointed at Arthur, who was quietly stacking chairs in the corner. "Why not the janitor?" they laughed. A ripple of amusement ran through the room. Crumb smirked at the suggestion, seeing no threat. Arthur paused, mop still in his hand, then gave a small nod. Without saying a word, he walked to the board and sat across from the champion. The crowd chuckled, phones raised to capture what they assumed would be a quick humiliation. A janitor with calloused hands against a king of chess. It seemed laughable. But fate, as it turned out, was about to write something unforgettable. The clock was set. The room held its breath. Crumb leaned forward with a predatory grin, already rehearsing the moves that had crushed so many before. His opening was sharp, calculated, every piece advancing with elegance and power. The crowd watched in admiration, nodding at the brilliance they expected. Arthur, however, moved differently. His hands were steady but unhurried, each motion deliberate yet oddly unconventional. To the casual eye, it looked awkward, even clumsy. A few spectators whispered that he didn't know what he was doing. Someone snickered. He's already lost. But Arthur wasn't rattled. Behind his quiet demeanor lay years of hidden practice. He had studied the masters without ever sitting among them, absorbing strategies like a shadow in the corner. And now, across from him, the opportunity to put it all into action had arrived. Crumb played with arrogance, confident that each move tightened the noose around the janitor. The champion's body language screamed certainty. He leaned back, arms crossed, already envisioning the swift checkmate to come. But then, it happened. Arthur made a move, bold, reckless, unorthodox. A gasp rippled through the room. At first glance, it looked like a blunder, a mistake so amateurish that Crumb actually chuckled under his breath. Yet as seconds ticked by, that laughter faded. Crumb leaned closer, eyes narrowing. The board told a different story. Arthur's move? Bizarre at first, was a hidden dagger, a trap woven deep into the fabric of the game. The spectators grew quiet, their earlier mockery dissolving into uneasy silence. Something was wrong. For the first time, Crumb's face lost its confidence. Whispers spread across the hall. What did he just do? That can't be right. Can it? Even seasoned players in the audience frowned, trying to unravel the strange turn the game had taken. Arthur sat motionless, his eyes fixed on the board. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He simply waited as though he had seen. This moment before, Crumb shifted in his seat. His fingers tapped against the table, betraying the unease he tried to hide. He tested possible counters in his mind, but with each variation, he found himself cornered. Arthur's single move had undone his flawless setup like a thread pulled from an intricate web. Minutes stretched into an eternity. The champion's brow furrowed, sweat forming on his temple. Every attempt to regain control seemed to collapse into another trap. The spectators were stunned. A janitor, a man they dismissed, without thought, had just forced the world champion into unfamiliar, dangerous territory. For the first time, the crowd realized they weren't watching a joke. They were watching history. Crumb's frustration grew with every passing move. His usual precision began to falter. Pieces that normally moved like instruments in a symphony now stumbled awkwardly, as if he were playing a tune he didn't recognize. Arthur, on the other hand, remained calm. His moves flowed like water, each one inevitable, calculated far in advance. There was no arrogance in him, no sign of triumph, just quiet focus, as though this game was not about winning, but about completing something he had long prepared for. The crowd leaned forward in disbelief. They whispered, recorded, and even argued among themselves. This can't be real. The champion will turn it around. But as the board shifted more and more in Arthur's favor, doubt gnawed at their certainty. And then, it came. The moment that shattered everything. Arthur placed his piece down with gentle finality. Crumb froze. His king stood trapped, surrounded, cornered with no escape. Checkmate. For a heartbeat, silence ruled the hall. Then gasps, shouts, and disbelief erupted. Crumb leaned back in his chair, his face pale. The unthinkable had happened. The champion was defeated by the janitor. The hall buzzed with chaos. Reporters rushed to capture the scene, players scrambled to study the board, and spectators replayed the moment in disbelief. Phones lit up with recordings that would soon spread across the world. Crumb sat still, staring at the board as if searching for a way to rewrite what had just occurred. His pride, his years of dominance, lay in ruins before him. Slowly, with visible effort, he extended his hand across the table. Arthur, humble as ever, shook it without a word. The chess world would later analyze Arthur's move endlessly. Experts called it one of the most unexpected and brilliant traps in modern chess history. Commentators marveled at the creativity, the foresight, the elegance of a strategy no champion had seen coming. But Arthur didn't wait for praise. He stood, dusted his faded uniform, and quietly walked away. By the time the reporters searched for him, he was gone, back to his mop, back to the silence of his unnoticed life. Within hours, the story went viral. Headlines read, "Janitor stuns world champion with checkmate." Forums exploded with debates. Some called it luck, others hailed Arthur as a hidden genius. The video of the match spread across the globe, racking up millions of views. But beyond the shockwaves in the chess community, Arthur's victory carried a deeper weight. It wasn't just about a game. It was about what happens when the world underestimates someone who has nothing to prove but everything to show. Arthur never sought fame. He didn't give interviews or chase the spotlight. Instead, he returned to his quiet life, content to let his moment speak for itself. And it did. For years to come, his story became legend. A reminder that brilliance can hide in plain sight, that status and titles mean nothing against true intellect, and that sometimes the most unassuming person in the room carries the power to change everything. He was just a janitor, until the moment he wasn't. And with one quiet move, he proved that even the forgotten can leave kings trembling.